So Donald Trump did a wild presser this morning where he addressed criticism about basically his clown show. I want to show some of this, and let's just jump right in.
Catholics were not so happy about the image of you looking like the Pope.
Oh, I see. You mean they can't take a joke? You don't mean the Catholics, you mean the fake news media.
So if you've been following this story, you'll know that recently the White House account tweeted out a picture of Trump dressed up as the Pope, which is a bit strange. I'm sure you guys know this, especially as a world leader. And if you don't know, the Pope recently died and they're picking a new person, and it looks like Trump is nominating himself. He calls it fake news and these kind of things, which is strange because they really did tweet this stuff out. Have a listen to more of what he has to say.
Not the Catholics loved it. I had nothing to do with it. Somebody made up a picture of me dressed like the Pope, and they put it out on the internet. That's not me that did it. I have no idea where it came from. Maybe it was AI, but I know nothing about it. I just saw it last evening. Actually, my wife thought it was cute. She said, "Isn't that nice?"
My question about
Actually, I would not be able to be married, though. That would be a lot. I'd have to the best of my knowledge, popes aren't big on getting married, are they? Not that we know of. No. I think it's the fake news media that, they're fakers.
My question, though, sir, was about the fact that it was put out on the White House account. Even though it was AI generated, it was a joke, it was a meme. Does it at all diminish the substance of the official White House account to have it go out on that particular channel?
Give me a break. It was just somebody did it in fun. It's fine.
And that's how they downplay stuff, right? They'll say, can't you take a joke? But this is what they're up to these days. The last couple of days, it's all been about Star Wars. They tweet out a picture of first, Trump as Pope. Now they're tweeting him out as like being, a Jedi, muscular, etc. This is the sort of imagery that they like to put out as being more than human, superhuman, these kind of things. Again, this is Jedi, eagles on your back and flags. It's so ridiculous. But, it's funny because if you look at basically dictators in other countries, be it your North Korea, Russia, this kind of stuff, they'll do these kind of things. But this is what we're doing now in USA. I guess our U.S. Army now has lightsabers also. And I understand, guys, you make the case it's a joke, right? But I don't think the messaging that they are doing necessarily reflects what they think it is. For example, this is coming from the Department of Defense. They got Hegseth there and Trump, and they're trying to portray this as being like Star Wars. Now, the interesting thing about this stuff is if you like Star Wars and you know these things, to sort of tweet it out in this way, to me, it makes it feel like the empire in the White House is the empire. Because normally, when you do the yellow text, it kind of shows all of the bad things that the empire is doing, and then ultimately the rebellion stops it. You guys know this, right? You watch Star Wars. And so all these sort of core accomplishments have to do with the military, and it's like, how do I even address this? But I just want to show it to you what it is. This is who these people are. Now, what's interesting is we talked about yesterday how Trump was tweeting out about 100% tariffs on foreign productions of movies, which would be a massive blow to the film industry. He actually addressed it here. Let's have a see what he has to say.
The movie tariffs.
Yeah, the movie tariffs, what they've done is other nations have been stealing the movies, the movie-making capabilities from the United States.
And when in doubt, and this is sort of basically what he just talks out his butt all the time. He just always accuses other people of stealing, cheating, lying, etc. And every time he does this stuff, it always just feels like, are you confessing to something? Did you steal something this time? So now he's saying that all the other countries have steal, that's not a word, have stole the movie making skills, I guess, of the USA. I guess that's what we're talking about. He's just, we'll watch more.
And I said to a couple of people, what do you think? I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we're making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed. Now, you have an incompetent, grossly incompetent governor that allowed that to happen, so I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them, have stolen our movie industry. And I'm saying, if they're not willing...
And the weird thing about this too, and I want to address the stolen part, right? Be it that China stole your jobs or now other countries are stealing your movie jobs. Let's make it really clear, guys. American companies have decided that they want to go search out cheaper labor or they've decided they want to move factories abroad to where there might be sourcing, right, available there to either materials or, workforce, whatever. But American companies made the decision to move. It wasn't like, a foreign country forced American companies to move productions, or factories other places. If I'm wrong, if somehow China or Vietnam, came to the USA and kidnapped an American CEO, and then I guess kidnapped the American CEO's family and forced the Americans to build factories, let me know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe that's what happened. But I hope you guys understand my discussion of this stuff, because I understand to the Trump base, you just want to make it seem like everyone's lying and cheating you all the time. Well, I mean, to be really frank, the person who's lying and cheating is actually Trump. I mean, because I'm just pointing out what's going on. But I do always want to have conversations about this stuff. How did these other countries steal your job? It's a serious question, because again, these are American companies who decided to move jobs overseas for different reasons. The economy has also changed in the USA, as we talk about many times on this channel. Let's have a look at more what he has to say here, though.
Willing to make a movie inside the United States, and we should have a tariff on movies that come in. And not only that, governments are actually giving big money. I mean, they're supporting them financially. So that's sort of a threat to our country in a sense. And it's been a very popular thing. I can tell you one thing, movie makers love it.
Mr. President.
So he claims that movie makers are loving it. I would push back and say, who are you talking to? And Trump will probably say, well, I've been talking to Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight, who's his special panel to change Hollywood. That's sort of what he's been talking to. Regarding, what's going to happen with this, 100% tariff on movies is actually really big. I'll give you an example. So right now in the theaters is the Thunderbolts movie. My wife and I actually went to go see it. It's pretty good. I'm very frank. It's a good movie. So my understanding, it was filmed in 3 different U.S. states. I can't remember exactly. I think it might have been like Georgia, California, and maybe one other. Probably New Orleans. Well, New Orleans is not a state, but probably New Orleans is a place they film stuff. They film stuff in Pittsburgh as well oftentimes, but I don't remember which 3 states, but it was filmed in 3 states. And then I think there was a scene also filmed in Malaysia. And the interesting thing to say about the Thunderbolts in this example is, would that be considered a foreign production, right? Because Trump's saying, hey, we got to bring all these jobs back to the USA. There's just some situations where you want to film abroad for various reasons. Maybe there's certain talent bases over there. Maybe there's certain locations that you want to use. And a film could use any number of locations and talents from all over the world. And I also want to mention, I do appreciate it for people who work in the film industry who, wrote in the comments, because we have a lot of people in our community who do. Someone wrote, there are situations, say in post-production, when you're, processing and post-editing VFX or sound or any number of things, and you're using multiple studios at the same time. And there's some studios who are really good at certain types of things. And the person was talking about Harry Potter, an example where they're, we're probably doing some roto tracking, or I can't remember exactly what they were doing, but the point is, though, is that different studios will have, and when I mean studio, I should say production house, will have a different specialty in what they do. So this is, I think what this boils down to, and it's hard to address this stuff because the Trump base, and I always try to be polite about this stuff, but I'll just say this: the Trump base doesn't really understand the world that well. And Trump sort of feeds off basically people being uneducated. It's frustrating to deal with, to be perfectly frank, because I've spent much of my life as an educator, as a professor for many years, and so education is important to me. And I think it should be important to everyone. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's a crazy thing, but I do understand from the Donald Trumpy kind of world, they want to keep people uneducated, basically. And his point of view is like, you're only going to have a couple dolls. And, you're lucky if you get dolls at all, or even pencils. And your, goal in life is we're going to throw you back into the factories and send you back to the cotton fields, that kind of stuff. And it's really sad to see people fall for this stuff. But you do want to show it. And also I like to have honest conversations with you guys about this stuff. I enjoy reading your comments. And I also want to warn you as well, be careful of stuff you see on YouTube, because much of it is entertainment. It's not really about education at all. It's just entertainment. And like I said, I try to give you honest stuff, because I think for the average viewer out there, most people, when they see what you guys are saying, they just say, I just want to know the truth, right? That's what most people say. And unfortunately, though, the way sort of the YouTube media environment goes with is it's hard to talk about truth when most of it is entertainment, right? Because you have a sort of segment that's like, well, I do want to know the truth, but I'm so distracted by the entertainment aspects of it that I get confused. So that's why you do have to address both. Frank, here's an entertainment aspect. For example, what is Trump up to today?
How did you decide to reopen Alcatraz? Can you walk us through that decision?
Did I say what?
To reopen Alcatraz, how will you use it? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making, and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order.
You know, we have a felon in the office, and he's talking about law and order, and we're going to reopen Alcatraz. It's going to take a lot of money to do that thing. Right now, it's basically a museum. You know, this kind of stuff, again, this is the smoke and mirrors distractions. You know, I mention it because, yes, people do want to talk about it. What do you think? I think it's stupid. That's it. But I do want to point out the stuff that they are doing that is funny and real to understanding our it's funny in the sense because it's so ridiculous. But when we go back in history, these would be kind of the things that we'll study. So, for example, this is Homeland Security on the White House retweeted this. An article in the New York Times, what they do is they cross out the words a man. They put in Photoshop, right, illegal alien, or they'll cross out the words Brooklyn man and they'll put in monster. Basically, what they want to do is they want to rewrite history. They want to skip due process, already judge someone, right? Instead of calling someone, hey, a man has been charged with, you know, something, and let's go through the process. They just want to automatically assume the person's guilty, right? And so the skipping of due process is very dangerous. And I you know, regardless of, you know, what the crime is or who the person is, everyone has a right to due process. Otherwise, we can just make up charges about anyone at all, right? And I hope you guys understand the danger of this. But from the, you know, sort of Trumpy White House world, they just want to keep you looking at shiny objects. So, for example, they put this thing out on their Twitter, which is like some sort of lo-fi thing with music, and you can relax study now to Trump signing bills. They keep doing that. But the real issue is, and you know, if you're watching this video, you do care about some of the important stuff. But I can't lead with this stuff because the average person gets so distracted by the, you know, shiny object syndrome, basically. But it's this. We'll watch.
Which is you've branded your own cryptocurrency. The coin's values actually surged recently after you announced that top holders would be invited to have dinner.
I don't even know that. What did it surge to?
So basically, it's corrupt, right? He's got a meme coin, Trump coin. His wife's got one, and it's like the Melania coin. They're even doing a stable coin. It's all crypto. It's all, you know, money laundering, money coming from who knows where. And basically, they had announced like you can get FaceTime with the president if you know, give a bunch of money. And he's like, pretends like he doesn't really know about it at all. He doesn't deny it. He just pretends he doesn't know. And this is, again, should be the headlines everywhere. But, you know, the average viewer cares more about, oh, what did he tweet out with the picture of the Pope, or what's going on with Alcatraz, that kind of stuff. And it's hard. It's honestly really hard to do news and education when, again, the average viewer is so distracted by the shiny object thing. So I just wanted to point this stuff out to you guys. That I do see this stuff, and I know some of you see it as well, and I get frustrated. If you understand what I'm saying, it's frustrating.
No, dollars per cryptocurrency.
$1 billion?
No.
What's the number? I mean, what is the amount?
The meme coin's value hit a peak of $75.35 on January 19th.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
And that's before your inauguration, and then it surged.
Look, I'm in favor of crypto.
Let me just ask you, what do you say to those who argue that when they hear that, they worry you're profiting from the presidency?
I'm not
and he's going to claim he's not profiting, et cetera, and he's going to pretend, you know, that he's like all about crypto. So he doesn't know anything about this stuff. Basically, he's got a team that says, hey, Mr. President, will you sign something and we'll give you a bunch of money? Oh, okay, fine, right? And that's all it ends up being for him. It's pretty obvious if you watch anything that he says. He's got a team of worm tongues and handlers that basically just say, hey, we'll pay you money to do this. Just go out and say whatever nonsense. And he just goes along with it. And it becomes quite evident every day. And I think the saddest thing, and I've been thinking about this last couple of days, the saddest thing about the Trump stuff isn't necessarily Trump as himself. It's just that he represents a culture and a large group of USA who go along with these things. And my hope is that things get so bad and so broken that people realize that this is unsustainable. Let people have their chance, and you'll see like how ridiculous this stuff is. But I get it more than you know. The way the Trumpers will argue, right? These are the hardcore Trumpers. They'll say, "Oh, well, you didn't let Trump have a chance to do his crypto scam, and it could have been really awesome." It's just that mainstream media, right? And then they're gonna live in their own little petty worlds or whatever. And just to be perfectly frank, and I'm gonna be coming from a more mean perspective. If you want to follow that, that person, that's to your peril. But don't drag us down with you, and don't drag the world down with you, because the rest of us are moving on past this stuff, and we want to go forward into the future and not go backwards. So that's my thoughts on this stuff. I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next video.